What's going on? Welcome back to the podcast. If you've never been here, you suck. But we haven't. I haven't done the podcast in a little bit, and I feel like it's a good time to bring it back. And I'm gonna bring it back a little different. So I'm gonna have some cool, interesting topics that I want to talk about with friends, clients, and just kind of really dig a little bit deeper on just how everyone thinks. I mean, I think podcasts are a cool medium because it's a place where you can ask interesting questions that you would probably never ask your friends or anybody else, and it gets you lets you get to know them better. And also, it's like free therapy when you're doing it. So today, I've got my buddy Felix on the other side. What's up, my man?
What's going on? How are you?
Tell the people ASL.
Well, I don't even remember what that stands for. What's that? Age,
Age,
sex,
sex,
and
location.
that that really takes us back. I feel like that was like MySpace days.
Bro, that was AIM, bro.
Yeah, that's right. When you get the creepers to say they're 21 or when they're actually like 52.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Felix is he's actually one of my good friends out in Austin. Also was a former client, and we just have pretty good conversations whenever we get together. So I figured you'd be a good person to have on the podcast. And so today, we want to talk about a pretty interesting topic that came up, and it's just letting go of control. Kind of finding the real path to growth. And yeah, man, I just want to ask you, like, when you hear the phrase "letting go of control," what comes to mind to you personally?
Yeah, this is, I think, a very timely and a very intimate question for me at the moment. When I think about letting go, I think so easily we come to terms or we listen to other podcasts or videos, and a lot of it is drilling the ideas of either productivity or achievement or you got to have every step of your way planned out. And there's absolutely a room and place for all of that. I think the idea of discipline, the idea of hard work and knowing what it is you're actually trying to chase and kind of know how to get there is absolutely valid. There's no way around that. But there's also just this fundamental piece of life that you just simply cannot control. There's just so much to it that is random. There's so much to it that you may think you have A through Z planned out, and all of a sudden something comes and it completely throws you, off course. And I think the idea of letting go, just being able to be okay with that. And when things don't go your way like you think it's supposed to, be okay with that. Um, and in every situation, both good or bad, is there something or a reason of why it's not working out the way I should supposed to? Is there a reason that I'm not moving in the direction that I'm supposed to? Um, and I think to feel any sort of real, deep joy and peace, you got to be able to find that balance. I say all this not because I think I know how to get there. I say all this because I am trying to get there. So when I think about letting go, it's just finding that middle ground where you're okay with things working out, but also understanding that when it doesn't, you gotta be okay with that too.
Yeah, I like that. What do you feel like you always need to be in control of?
Oh my God, everything. Like what I think for me, the idea of control means I am furthest away from the chance at failure. And when failure comes, it's really bad. I'm really hard on myself when that happens. So the more I can be in control to get away from not achieving something or not failing at something is what I think or what I used to think. But no matter what, failure is going to come. So it's not about controlling not failing, because controlling not failing means you're also not trying. And I'm very intimately familiar with that feeling too. Um, so it's just about, figuring it out, I guess.
Yeah, I think most Asian men our age can probably relate to that. You know, like growing up, you're expected to get really good grades and become a
Mm.
doctor or a lawyer or something like that, and anything else of that is like kind of failure. And I don't know about you. Were you a good student in school?
I was I got good grades, but not because I tried very hard. Like, I was studious. I did the things I was technically supposed to, but I'm sure a lot of people can sympathize. You find shortcuts and you find ways to, oh, I'll do this homework, you do that homework, and then we'll just copy off of each other.
No,
And
that's crazy. Never did that.
never did that.
Never did that. All my
Yeah,
own.
right. So I got good grades. Subjects usually came to me pretty easily, but at the same time, I never felt challenged. I never really felt um, like I even tried that hard to begin with. Um, but you know, it. I finished. I didn't fail out, which is I guess is a pat on the
Yeah,
back.
that's actually pretty funny. I mean, that's exactly I think how my school was.
Yeah,
Like everything was easy enough to where I didn't have to try that hard to pass.
yeah,
I mean, I get stressed out because I would cram things the night before. I would only open the textbook the night before the test, and I would cram everything, even in college. And I remember at one point, she went back to school because she was like, "Oh, I want to be a nurse." So
mm,
she went back to do some prereq. She was doing like anatomy and physiology and stuff like that. And I was, going to Cal at the time and commuting back and
mm,
forth. And she was like, "Why don't you ever study?" I used to go to like study groups and stuff all the time. I was like, "That's lame. I don't want to do
mm.
that." And then she'd be like, "Don't you have a test?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm so stressed. I got it. Like, it's tomorrow." I was like, every all nighter, I would always be like, "Okay, I've got 12 hours before I need to leave. That means I
Mm,
can read 6 chapters. One chapter every 2 hours. That's a pretty good estimate." And then all of a sudden, I
mm,
would just get backtrack, and then all of a sudden it was like 3 hours left. I was like, I could probably skim it. I could skim a couple chapters, and then I would end up doing nothing, and then I'd be stressed out, and I take the test, and I get like a B, and Mary'd be like,
So,
"This is
so,
bullshit."
so you didn't read or study at all until the night before, and that was
Yeah,
your process.
very specifically in college. Yeah, so like when I was at Cal, I never studied. I wouldn't even open the textbook until the night before,
Mm-hmm.
and then my process was, okay, I'm gonna read everything, and then time would get back, and I'd procrastinate more, and I'd be like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
what do they want me to know? Like I know I'm in class, I pay attention roughly, but I'm not studying. So I was like, okay, what do I think they want me to know? And I'm gonna find those things and I'm gonna memorize it. And I can memorize that in
Mm,
a very short term and I can repeat it back. So I was a pretty good test taker. But I remember one night, not one, one day back, I was commuting back from Cal. It's like a
mm,
hour and a half drive in traffic because I was crossing the Bay Bridge, and Mary was like having a really hard time taking, I think it was anatomy,
mm.
and so she was going to like study groups and stuff all the time. And then we were on the phone, and I was like, "Just read me your quiz. I want to take it." And she read me her quiz, and I went like 7 for 7. I was like, "I'm not even taking the class." And she's like, "This is bullshit. I'm not made for this." But Anyways, I asked about school just because I think that was one of the first places where I was like, I can get by on medium effort.
Mm,
And in the back of my head, I would always say like I could be an A student if I wanted to.
mm,
But also in the back of my head, I was like, I don't know, could I do it? And there's
mm,
always this little bit of doubt, and that fear of failing would stop me from trying really hard. Because if I tried really hard and then I didn't get it, then I'd find out that I'm not really as good as I think I am.
mm.
You ever feel like that?
Uh, I'll answer, but I'm curious. For you, was the fear of failure your own, or do you think maybe how you grew up, maybe your parents had some influence that you couldn't fail in front of them that amplified this fear of failure?
You know, it's interesting. I don't think I really got that much flack from my parents about that kind of stuff.
Mm,
It was more like nobody ever checked in on me, so I would just do whatever I wanted. It mostly
mm,
happened once my parents split. They separated when I was 11. I was just thinking about this the other day. Like
mm,
once that happened, everything changed, even though I didn't realize that I was changing. Like I stopped
yeah,
caring about school.
yeah.
I mean, after elementary school, that was like right when I got into middle school. So like my
Mm,
school changed. Both my parents didn't live together anymore. My siblings are way older, so they had their own lives.
mm,
And basically nobody checked to see if I had homework or anything. And I just like would slowly stop doing it.
mm,
And I I think I just didn't like failing just for the ego perspective. I was just like, I'm
mm,
not like dumb. I don't want to feel like I'm failing. Also, I think when you succeed in an Asian household, you feel praised, but you never really feel that any other time. If
mm.
that makes, I guess if that makes sense. Like,
Makes 100%, 100% sense.
yeah, I mean, I remember there were times where I would get an A on something, and I remember distinctly my mom was like, "Wow, next time you can get an A plus," and she said it,
Mm,
kind of as a compliment, but kind of not. And I remember just thinking like, dude, like when is enough enough? Like when is this going to be
mm,
good enough? I got to get
mm,
100% every time, or else it's not okay,
mm,
or it can't just be like good job and that's it.
mm.
Um, and so I think it really came from that.
Yeah, I was in the same boat as you in the sense that nobody really checked on my grades. If anything, my aunt and my uncle. So I grew up kind of like a third sibling to a set of guy cousins, and if anything, they uh, that aunt and that mostly that aunt checked on me more than my parents did. Um, but the I think the fear of failure came, and maybe other Asian kids can relate to this. Asian parents love discipline in the form of physical attention. Let's just phrase it that way. Let's just call it physical attention. Gave a lot of physical attention, um, and and I'm really just kind of processing this in this very moment. But the idea of failing was met with the physical attention. Sometimes physical attention was explained. Sometimes, or many times for me, physical attention was not explained. It just kind of happened, and I didn't understand the reasoning. I didn't understand, why it happened. I didn't understand how to learn from it. I just knew that it came, and that was basically it. Um, so instead of failing at something, which then gets met with this thing that you know I don't even understand why what I'm being punished for, and that that fear continues to find its way in other places. But that fear of failure becomes like this rooted thing. So not trying in school, not trying in anything, not being vulnerable in other places because there's that fear of failure uh, becomes something that you spent years trying to break away from.
Yeah, I feel that. You feel like when you think that you need to be in control and then you don't try, is that because you're afraid of failing, or is it just easier to feel like you didn't try so it's not actually failing even if you get punished?
I I think it's both. I think it's the feel of failure, the fear of failure, because I have to be so prepared. I have to know exactly what happens, and I have to be so certain of the outcome in order for me to do something. But I'm sure we can all relate, like, that level of certainty does not exist in actual growth, right? Like, if you want to continue to reach new places, do new things, continue to develop, you're not certain of the outcome. That's one of the main prerequisites of what growth and new things actually are, is that you're not certain of what the outcome is going to be. So to think that I can plan every step in order to, achieve the things I want to achieve, when really the core prerequisite of getting to that thing is the thing that I'm afraid of the most, which I guess is fear itself. So it's a crazy loop that essentially, to your point, really just holds you back.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I literally posted about having a scarcity mindset last night,
Mm,
and
mm,
a big thing is like if you're only focused on holding on to what you have, you'll
mm,
never be able to reach what's out in front of you or give
mm,
yourself the opportunity to grow. And it's this
mm,
weird thing where we don't want to fail, and everybody's always thinking like, oh, I don't want to fail, and you're always thinking, well, what happens if things go wrong?
mm,
But no one ever flips it and says like, well, what happens if something goes right? What do
mm,
I gain out of this if I succeed?
mm,
And everyone's just more scared of failing than they are of what the potential outcome is. And I mean, you got to be realistic on what the outcome is. You're not going to be like,
sure.
dude, if I do this, I'm going to fucking be a billionaire.
Mm,
Like that's not realistic. But the thing that you're scared of doing is usually the one thing that you have to get over to get to where you want to go. And it's crazy because some people never get over the hump, and then they live their life thinking, I could have done this. I would have done that if I had just been in this other position. Right. But I mean, that's just like victim mindset.
mm,
It's like
mm,
everything is happening to you. And sure, it might be, but so what?
mm,
Right? Everything is happening to you. Okay, and what are you going to do
mm,
about it? Are you going to
mm,
say, are you saying that because everything is happening to you, then you're never going to reach your goal? Then why are you even thinking about it? You know, like, I don't want to, I just don't, I don't know. There's just the victim mindset thing is crazy. Like, a great quote from one of my mentors was, it might not be your fault, but it is your responsibility.
mm.
Because the
Yeah.
only person who can change anything about your life is you, who has 100% control of either maybe not what happens to you, but you have control of how you react and how you respond
Mm,
and how you change things. And some people are like, yeah, well, these people are in my life. It's like, they don't have to be.
mm,
You can leave them. I don't like this job. You don't have to be in it.
mm,
But the reason you won't leave the job is because of your ego or your fear of failing, right? Like most people don't want to leave their job after a certain point in their life because they're like, well, I don't want to give up the amount of money I'm making because what if the other thing doesn't work out?
mm,
Yeah, but what if it does work out? Let's like a great psychology thing that people have done to me is actually play out the two different scenarios that will happen. You're comfortable right now because you haven't done anything. But where does you being comfortable lead you to, right? Like, let's just say you never make a change, you never make a decision. And so you keep going on throughout life in a place that you said you don't want to be in because literally you're complaining about it right now, thinking about doing something else. But if
mm,
you never do anything else, you'll be stuck in this place where something hurts. You're just scared of going down the other path where you actually do something about it, which is an unknown potential pain, but it at least gives you the best chance to getting to do the things you want to do or be the person you want to be.
Yeah, that you remind me of this concept that I learned from our friend Tony Robbins. But
Oh boy.
he, yeah, he has this idea, or I don't know where he got it from, but this idea of like an emotional home
Hmm.
where, you know, whether it's great, but most of the time it's bad, you have this emotional home that whether you feel lonely or rejected or scared or not fulfilled or unworthy, that is the emotional home that you've put yourself in for however many years that you've been on this earth. And the idea of being fulfilled, feeling like you're worth it, or achieving something, or getting over a fear, having that courage, that may be what you want. But because your body has been so accustomed to this feeling of the other, of the negative, your actions and your decisions kind of leads you back to that emotional home, because ultimately that is more safe than this other unknown thing, even though it's what you want.
Yeah.
And to be it's very like sinister and unconscious and like hides underneath the surface, even though you don't even know it's there, but it's there. And to get yourself out of that home is like a big energy that it takes moving through a season of pain and suffering, which that in and of itself sounds terrifying and scary. Um, but I mean, like if we think about like a boat going in one direction and we're thinking about a big boat, we're all big boats. If we're thinking about a boat, in order to change course, like it takes a lot of energy to move against the current and go on a different course. If you stay the course, you're just flowing with the current, and it may continue to lead you to the place that you don't want to go. But the energy to move courses, like that's the part that is different for everybody. It freaking sucks. I'll say that from personal experience right now. Um, but I think we're all afraid of that piece of it.
Yeah. It's funny. It's like the pain that even if it's bad, is easier to deal with than the pain that you don't know. Even if that pain is actually less, it's just the thought of the pain that scares you
Mm-hmm.
of dealing with something new.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, change is scary, but that's like kind of like the whole point,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
if everything was always safe, everybody would be fucking crushing it and
Yeah.
doing big things and it wouldn't be a risk. But everybody's heard the quote like no risk, no reward, but also it doesn't mean as much if you get it for nothing. You know what I
Do you
mean?
know where you first? Do you know where you first got even the initial seed or the initial nugget? Right. Like there's so many people that don't have this idea or this mindset that like in order to get to a better place, it goes through pain and goes through suffering. Where did you get that initial idea that okay, this is how it's supposed to be?
Off the top of my head, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
honest,
Yeah.
probably Dragon Ball Z.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Just like off the top of my head, from like my youngest memory, it was like that or
Yeah.
like Rocky. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just like I internalized it so much. Like you
Mm.
want something, you put yourself through some shit,
Yeah.
and it's hard. Nobody else wants to do it, but that's
Yeah.
why nobody reaches that goal either. But if you try hard enough, you will get somewhere great. And I
Mm.
think I just always I don't know if it was related to it or if I was just like, man, I really want to be like that. But I physically loved working hard. You know, I think the only reason that I didn't work harder or do more in like certain aspects, maybe in certain sports, was just as I lacked a lot of confidence.
Mm.
And I was just someone when I was younger, and still to an extent today, like I need to be led. You know, I'm not like a natural born leader. I don't, in my opinion, I didn't really have that growing up, like someone who's a great leader to show me what leadership looks like. You know, a lot of it was just yelling, being a
Mm,
boss,
mm,
using fear to do other things. But it wasn't like being led. It wasn't building confidence. And yeah, so I mean, later on in life, I think I learned it firsthand. You know, like you got to do some hard shit, and then something good is on the other side. Like, um, I mean, I went to Cal like on 2 weeks' notice. Like, I was literally just
mm,
like working at the airport,
mm,
and my friend was like, "Yo, the coaches at Cal are looking for you," because his brother was on the team, and I was like, "Okay." So I called them, and they were like, "Hey, you know, we got a spot open. Coach Clark is hard to get a meeting with, but if you're available tomorrow, you can come up to Berkeley." I was like, okay, cool. And it was funny. This is like also just timing and everything. I actually applied to Rutgers in Hawaii that
mm,
same month, and I got into both of them, and I decided not to go because I was going to be a spring transfer, and I just didn't want to deal with that hassle.
mm,
And then all of a sudden they called, and I took that leap of faith, and you know, I did it, and we were pretty fucking good, and you know, it worked out. Um, I've taken crazy leaps of faith. Like I ended up leaving Cal, which everybody would think is so dumb and not an Asian move to
mm,
leave, like, you know, quote unquote, the number one public university in the country to go chase your dream and go to Hawaii, you know? And I moved there without knowing where I was going to live. I had an Airbnb for like 3 days,
mm,
and I was like, I'm just going to find a place. And I think like the mental backing that I told myself was just, it's never not worked out. You've
mm,
never not been able to figure it out. Just figure it out this time.
mm,
Now, nowadays, a little smarter. I won't always do stuff like that. I won't always buy a house that I've never seen. Done it twice. Um, but yeah, and I think bodybuilding in particular really showed me that. There were like lots of moments where I was like gonna break.
mm,
And a quote that I told my clients recently was just, I mean, you're already in pain. Just get a reward from it.
mm,
Like make it mean something. Because most people, they're in pain and they quit, but they never get anywhere with it.
mm,
So they're just in pain and they have to restart at square one. And then they take a few steps and then they're in pain again. They restart. They're living that same small cycle over and over again,
mm,
instead of just saying, hey, I'm already in pain. I'm already right here. I've already come this far. Let me just go a little bit further. Let me just see what I can do this week, today, this next hour, and then I'll keep it going. And eventually you do that enough times, you come out on the other side and you're like, holy shit, I fucking did it.
Would you say you got that mindset through bodybuilding? This idea of like, okay, just you know, one more rep, one more set, whatever, or do you think, or is there some place you found it before?
I think I would say it really, I guess, cultivated into what it is today,
Mm,
like through bodybuilding. You know, I
mm,
wasn't as aware. It was just like, hey, you got to do this, and it's different when you're doing like team sports and stuff like that, because you have the pressure of like letting the team down. Like you don't want to be the person that sucks, or also if you're in a team sport, you don't want to be the one that's not playing. Like that
right,
sucks. You
right,
know
right,
what
right,
I
right.
mean? But bodybuilding, I guess, was different just because it was a solo thing, and it was like, hey, it's all you.
Mm,
And bodybuilding is interesting because it plays on your insecurities, right? Like your whole self worth in the sport and probably in your head is based on what you look like. So
mm,
if you quote unquote fail, basically people are saying like you don't look good, you know, and
mm.
that's usually why you get into bodybuilding in the first place, because you don't look good. So there's like a lot of different pressures, but yeah, I would say just like, I don't know, bodybuilding, it allowed me to get, and this is why I think fitness is so powerful. It allows you to get the fastest feedback for positive reinforcement. right? You have bigger dreams. It takes a long time to see kind of the results, right? Like you want to choose a new career path, get a promotion, have a baby, whatever it is,
Mm,
right? Like that
mm,
takes a long time. With fitness, you could eat good this week and you'll weigh less next week. You'll look better
mm,
next week, right? And so it's a fast feedback loop of, hey, if I do something really hard right now, if I do it right and I have the right plan, I will see something very soon. And I would kind of go back to like, when you're running sprints for sports,
mm,
it always feels horrible when you're doing
mm,
it. And then
mm,
afterwards, you're like, that was kind of being a bitch. That wasn't that
mm,
bad. You
mm,
felt that, right?
mm,
Yeah. And so I kind of just use that. It's like, it's just like that. When something's really
mm,
hard, uh, a quote that I heard also, I guess I have a lot of quotes, but
mm.
nothing lasts forever, good or bad. So when things are good, you just have to enjoy it and appreciate it. And when things are bad, you just got to know it's going to be good soon. You just have to weather the storm and be prepared for when it is good because life's never been all bad.
I, I'm totally with you there. I think, and I know we've talked about this before. It's sometimes it's just that first step, right? You're you're a coach. How do you get people to take that first step?
I think a lot of it is being able to believe in yourself.
Mm,
Like if you don't believe that you can do something, you're always going to say, what's the point? What's the point of
yeah,
trying?
yeah.
Right. And so sometimes that means you have to believe in me because if you believe in me, you'll believe that I can get you there.
Mm,
But in reality, it's all about you.
mm,
It's about you believing in you. And I actually did a training on this week, and it's just navigating your inner talk, right? Because most people don't realize that they think everything is external. Like, I don't have time, I don't have resources, I don't have genetics, I don't have whatever. But really, it's just what you tell yourself and your inner dialogue. Like, when people say, I'm not good at this, I can't do this, I'm not that type of person, I didn't grow up that way. You're basically speaking in an absolute to where you're like, it can never be another way. And so
mm,
subconsciously, your mind says, okay, this is just the way that I am, kind of like that emotional house, right? It's comfortable. This is what you've always thought about yourself. But your subconscious mind, it doesn't think. It just acts on what it feels and what it knows to be true. And so if you're always feeding it negativity, that's what it spits back out. Your thoughts influence your subconscious mind until it becomes internalized, and then your subconscious produces the actions, and then the actions get the results. And so it's like there's like a study that I saw, or like it was like a Google, right? Not a really study,
mm,
but
mm,
they're saying you have 6,000 to 60,000 thoughts every single day.
mm,
You talk to yourself more than anybody else, and so 80 to 90% of your thoughts repeat every single day. You're thinking about the same shit every day. And if you really think about it, you probably are, right? You're like, oh, what am I going to eat? What am I going to do this? Right?
mm,
And so if 80 to 90% of your thoughts, 6 to 60,000 times per day, are negative and telling you that you can't do something, what do you think is going to happen? And so you
mm,
have to start reframing those beliefs and just switching it, like instead of saying I can't, I can never, I won't, whatever, you're
mm,
like, I haven't yet. I'm working on towards being better. And it's such a small difference, but saying I can't is saying it can never be another way. Saying I haven't
mm.
yet is saying I could possibly in the future. And sometimes that little hope is the thing that helps you start to believe.
I'll add one more on top of that. I also think about what are the things that you are consuming or looking at
Oh,
throughout the
100%.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like that feeds so much into the psyche, and it's not just like right, like the very common, I think, for real thing is like you are the average of the five people you're closest to.
Yeah.
In addition to that, right, like nobody can be with you 100% of the time. Only you are,
I'm always in
and
your heart.
Thanks, bro. I'll think about that next time I take a shit. um, but like it's so easy now. Like we have so many resources, which is a great thing, and then we have so many resources, which is a not so great thing. There's just so much out there.
100%.
I think a big part of that is just choosing the things that you are choosing to consume. Are they the things that helping you learn? Are they the things that helping you understand? Or are they things that, you are just flipping, doing this, and you see things that are not the same in your life that makes you feel bad? Are the people that are not in your life that make you feel bad? Like, what is it that you consume? And if I at least for me, like the more we can sway the meter towards the things that are actually helpful, and not like fake helpful, not just like the woo woo motivational stuff, but like really getting to like the deeper things that make you like really think about your actions and what you're trying to get out of anything. Like the more we can move ourselves towards that direction, I think everything else will continue to follow. You know,
Yeah. I mean, isn't that why you didn't have Instagram for forever?
for a long, yeah, I didn't have it, and I still don't look at it. So when you told me like you sent me things, like I don't look at it. Once I like post, I like get rid of it, and like I don't look at it again.
Whatever,
And
dude.
yeah, I did. I took it. I wasn't on anything really for maybe 3-4 years.
Weren't you on Facebook watching Facebook Reels?
I was with the grandmas looking at weird stuff that
Yeah. All
like
right.
yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not gonna deny, but yeah, I think Instagram was one of those big things that you know um, there's a lot in the algorithm that shows you things that either play on your insecurity or makes you desire things that are not fruitful.
Yeah. What's funny is that Instagram shows you what you interact with, right?
Right.
You train your Instagram or your
Right.
Facebook or whatever social
Right.
media app what you like to see. Maybe you don't like it, but you like to look at it and interact with it.
Mm-hmm.
Either because you enjoy it or because it makes you mad and you're going to type on it, right? Because the goal
Mm-hmm.
of any social media platform is to keep you on the platform for as long as
Mm-hmm.
possible. So
Mm-hmm.
it's funny when people are like, I only see negative stuff. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you're just a negative person,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I don't see negative anything unless somebody sends it to me because I've, and it's not even just that I like purposely trained it. I think that's just a standard of mine that
Mm-hmm.
I don't interact with things that make me unhappy
Mm-hmm.
or things that are just like negative inherently or that
Mm-hmm.
piss me off. Like I'm not going to just give it my time of day because if I start giving it my focus, it starts taking over. Right? Because you can find
Mm-hmm.
anything that pisses you off. There's so many things that piss me off.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't take that back. There's not so many things that piss me off, but I could find them if I wanted to, right? I
Yeah.
could argue with people, and I think I learned early on because when I was younger I like to argue. I thought I was going to be a lawyer because I like to argue so much
Mm-hmm.
that arguing doesn't actually help anything, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that there's ever been a time that you've ever gotten in a heated argument that you got the other person to be like, you know what, you're right, which is what
Mm-hmm.
everybody is like going after.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a big dick swinging contest. You're like,
Mm-hmm.
no, I'm right. No, I'm right. And most times, especially if you're arguing with dudes, they won't tell you you're right just because, off the principle, they're willing to die being wrong just to not give you the satisfaction of being right. And so it's like, when you realize that, you're like, why am I wasting my time trying to convince someone who cannot be convinced in this way?
Yeah.
And that's where I think, it comes down to like leading by example if you really want to change somebody,
Yeah.
which has been a huge theme of my life lately.
I mean, I think a lot of forums like this where people can actually talk to each other and not yell at each other. Um, I think food is a great medium for that as well. But right? Like if you're trying to understand somebody, you can't be arguing and yelling at them. I will say for me personally with the Instagram stuff, I'm the same as you. I would never engage in like, oh, you're stupid, or go out of my way to try to post negative comments. Like, I always thought that was silly. I always thought like, how much time do you have, or how, what do you think about yourself that you need to go out of your way to go post something negative about another person that you don't even know? Like, I'm not saying that as in, blaming people. I'm saying that as in, there's something there about your own internal psyche. And I never did stuff like that. I think for me, it was a lot of the temptations and the pleasure stuff that like
Whoa.
social.
This dude's looking at food porn.
Yeah. But you know what I mean, like the
Yeah, yeah.
temptation stuff, like especially with guys, you use the phrase dick swinging, like oh, do I have more money than this guy? Oh, do I look as good as this guy? Am I bigger than this guy? Do I lift more than this guy? And then there's the other piece where like, oh my god, like the amount of, I'm trying to use the right words, but trying to describe and emphasize the feeling. But I'll just say like the amount of like ass and titties that are just out all over social media. It's become like a new level of thing. And both of those things, I know men, it's so easy to like fall into, right? Like you see a guy who is wealthy and you're just like, man, that looks great. And then you see all this other stuff and it's just like, I I kind of want that too. And it's like a short fuse, and then it just becomes like a part that you have to literally pull yourself out of, which is, I think, a little bit of a scary thing, because it's so, it's just everywhere. So how many people are just falling into that hole of both the I need to be rich and have all the women, when we know that's not really ever the answer to actually
Yeah.
being happy.
Yeah. I mean, everybody kind of has that comparison thing in them at some
Mm,
point.
mm,
And in my old age wisdom,
mm. Your
and and
sage wisdom.
yeah, my sage era, and through coaching, I think it's just people don't really think hard about who they are, not
Mm,
what society or the world wants them to be, or even your parents, right? Like, I know a lot of Asians that get into nursing or healthcare or whatever just to make their parents happy, and they fucking hate it. They hate it every single day. And, you know, I think a lot of people feel that emptiness from finding what on paper looks like success, because it's unfulfilling, because it's not what you really want. It's not what you really
mm,
enjoy. And, sometimes people find out like way late in life that you lived your life for somebody else, and that's why everything feels empty.
mm,
And I think until people take a step back and really just become introspective and think like, who am I? And I
mm,
think that's something that I've been dealing with for the last like few years, ever since I stopped competing.
mm,
It's just, who am I? Who am I without all of these things, or all these things that I do? What do I like without Instagram, without needing to be a certain person? And I was never really like that into Instagram or anything like that. But just, you have this perception of who you're supposed to be once you get to a certain point, and then you're like, maybe you don't like it as much anymore. Maybe you don't want to do it anymore. And who are, it's just, who are you? What really makes you happy? What, like, is it a Lamborghini? Like, is that actually what makes you happy? And the way I kind of thought about it was, if I had this and nobody else knew that I had it, would it still make me happy? Or will it only make me happy because other people will give me praise for it?
oh, that's a bar.
Thank you. Thank you. But that, it's funny. That's actually how I thought about Invisalign. Like,
Okay.
for people watching this, I used to have a fat ass gap in my front two teeth. It was enormous. And looking back on it, it's even bigger than I remember. But
Mm,
yeah, I think in my head I was very stubborn because I was like, I mean, it didn't really cause me any problems other than the fact then that aesthetically I didn't like looking at it. Like I didn't really
Mm-hmm.
get teased about it. Every once in a while, somebody made a joke or something like that, but I'm out, it's whatever to me, you know. And so in my head, I was thinking, well, what if my future kid has a gap in their teeth and then they get insecure about it, and then I have to tell them like, no, it's okay. You look good the way you are. And they're like, yeah, but why did you get rid of yours then? If it looks so good, if it's okay. And I always want to be someone that lives with integrity, and whatever I say, I also did. And so I kind of battled with it. I was like, well, I'm going to leave it just in case my kid has it. And then I can be like, no, it's not a big deal. I got one too.
Mm,
You know, we're in this together. But I would feel fake if I, and I have Kai now. If like Kai had a gap tooth and he was, I don't like it and whatever, and all the kids are making fun of me, and I had to be like, no, 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 it's okay. Like it's not a big deal, right? It looks good. And then he's like, well, why'd you? But you don't have it. And then what am I gonna be like? Oh, I used to. And then be like, well, why'd you fix it if it was so good, right?
mm,
Why if it was cool? Um, but then I came to this moment where I was like, you know what? I would be happy if I did this just for me.
mm,
If no one else knew that I did it, I would still be happy about it. And that's when I figure out like this is what I actually want. I'm not doing it because other people make me feel weird about it. I just want it for me.
mm.
And I battled with that for like years, uh, to to do it or to not do it. And then I was just like, fuck it. And then it was great. I did it. What about what's
That,
something that like what's something like that for you?
oh God. Maybe because you talked about your teeth, maybe I'm thinking about my teeth too. So I have braces recently. I got it earlier this year. Um, and I told you it was a lot to do with some physical like body ailments that I think like the misalignment of my jaw
Hmm.
has created, and that's absolutely part of it. The other piece of it too was I had this thought that I had just got out of a relationship, which was pretty difficult. I knew or had a feeling based on previous history that I probably went out there and did things that made me try to numb or maybe try to just escape the feeling or escape the pain, and that involved just seeing people. um, I actually had the feeling that this is just going to almost keep me away from that. Like this was like a reason to really be able to spend time away from the external, trying to numb it out, because I'm not going to try to meet people. I'm not trying to see people. I'm not trying to go date. I'm not trying to, you know, do things that I used to do that I know I just wasn't very proud of. And the cherry on top of getting braces was I knew I was going to be more to myself, and I thought that was going to be a good thing for my personal growth.
Mm. So you're trying to
Yeah.
control everything. Full circle.
Oh, here we are. And we're back. Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to give me another reason to not fall into those temptations that I knew was just going to make me feel worse.
Mm. Should make you feel
Mm-hmm.
more empty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's interesting. Do you feel like that's you trying to control things, or is that you trying to be uncomfortable and grow?
The uncomfortable piece for sure. Is this me trying to control things? That's a good question. that wouldn't be how I would frame it. I think this is more putting a blocker in place so I don't. Oh, maybe it is putting a blocker in place so I don't lose control. I was like, yeah, maybe it is. It's something to put in front of me where those temptations, I don't lose myself to those temptations.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm shaking. I don't lose myself to those temptations. So it was trying to control, not losing control.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
No,
But,
I think that's a good version though, right? Because
yeah.
at the end
Mm-hmm.
of the day, you're trying to control not living up to a certain standard anymore. Like, and if you have standards,
Mm-hmm.
you have to keep them, or else you're living out of integrity, and
Mm-hmm.
that's when you feel the emptiness because it's
Mm-hmm.
not even what you want. It's just something that keeps you distracted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This distraction is a big one.
Yeah.
It's one that you don't even know it's there, but until it's like that, like glass shattering moment. Until you break that glass and see it, you can't unsee it. Um, yeah, this distraction is a big one.
Yeah. I mean, do you remember actually a time when you kind of let everything go and kind of just surrendered and it all worked out for a better outcome?
I can think of recently. Um, maybe because maybe I'm just a little bit more aware. But so I've been exploring. I know you know this, but I've been exploring, faith and exploring Christianity, and I've gone to church in the past, but always as a spectator. It wasn't until couple of months ago that I actually started opening the Bible and reading it and going to church just for myself, by myself actually, um, and trying to understand what this what this thing actually is. And there was, I have my day job, and I'm also working a second job. And I knew the second job was part time, and I knew it was temporary, but I was enjoying it to some extent. And as we started to approach, the holiday season, I was just thinking like, okay, maybe I think it's time to quit because I know I'm going to be away and traveling all the time, but I don't know. Um, not a huge decision, not like a grand scheme of, am I going to move across the country, but it was a small decision, which I think was a glimpse into this idea of faith for me. But I did feel, after I had that initial thought for 2 days, I like couldn't sleep. And I kept having this thought come into my head. And it kept telling me that I needed to quit. I needed to quit. Um, and so just the next day came around, and I just told the boss, like, hey, I just need to go. And sorry, backtrack a little bit. I had met this chef uh, through my sister and through a couple of channels. I met him, and I have this aspiration to go learn how to cook. So I met the chef. We met for a beer, and I asked him. I kind of told him my story. I knew he did these pop ups, and he, was kind of like a private chef in that sense. And I asked him like, "Oh, is there any opportunity where I can just, come help you out, come work for you, totally for free? I'll do whatever you ask me to." He's like, "Yeah, that could be a possibility," and we kind of kept in touch. So fast back forward, after I had quit or put in notice to quit this job, I had saw that this guy had posted a pop up that's happening this weekend. Today's November 13th, but it's happening this weekend. I saw it, but I didn't reach out to him. After I put in notice, probably 2 or 3 days later, this chef guy had just texted me out of the blue, like, "Hey, I have this pop up going on. Would you like to come help out?" And long way to come back to your question, just surrendering something, this idea that I needed to quit this job, and I was kind of like wrestling it, trying to figure it out myself. Something about this just kept telling me that like I just needed to quit. And then when I finally did it, very soon after, this thing that I had wanted to do months ago, that came to me. And, I'm excited to do that in a few days. But, I think that's the most recent example I can think of.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, what inspired you to want to basically break out of the norm and the normal sense of control? Like, you have a
Mm,
good job, you've been there for a while. I don't think you're getting
mm,
fired or anything anytime soon.
mm, mm,
Don't like it, but by all intents and purposes, like, you're successful in that, right? And you're
mm,
like, no, I'm gonna go do food over here,
mm,
something I've never done before, right?
mm.
What inspired that idea, or maybe not even idea, like what inspired you to take action on it, right? Because like we're here talking about letting go of control and letting something better come to you, but that's pretty tough, right? Like, most people, once you get to a high enough place, you don't want to give that up for something that is more work, less money, more stress.
Mm-hmm. What inspired you? I mean, you've known me for a few years. You've known me for almost a decade now.
5 years.
Probably 5. Has it only been 5 years?
Yeah.
Oh, it's felt longer because you're always in my heart.
I know that I'm always around.
um, I would say probably 4 of those years. I talked about just being bored, unfulfilled, not really
Mm.
happy. Um, so I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, I got the calling and I jumped right at it. That's just simply not the case. What this year changed? I mean, that's a great question. What about this year? Um,
Yeah, like what made you just want to take the leap? Or like, how'd you even come up with the idea, like with food?
yeah, I'll be also transparent. I haven't fully taken the leap yet. I still have my comfy paying job, so
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be like I'm fully there yet. But I think what it is, maybe it's part of getting older. I've been telling everybody I'm going through an early midlife crisis, but I think it's just it's gotten to a point where I've been telling myself this for so long. I think there were some things that led up to it. Going back to our boy Tony Robbins. Um, I went to a couple of his events. I'm going to another one in about 3 weeks or so. Um, I think the idea and wanting to do this, or just think about food. So before I went to college, I actually had the choice, and my dad, to give him credit, he was very supportive. Um, because I was deciding whether I want to go to culinary school or go to traditional college. I decided to go to traditional college and kind of been on this corporate route for the last 10 years or so. But this idea of food has always been there, and I've just never gone that direction. And fast forward to this year, just this constant repetitive nature of like, okay, I'm sitting here, yes, I'm comfy, I could go on vacation, I'm financially free in a sense. I don't necessarily worry about money, and that all sounds great. And I want to be empathetic that I know a lot of people are not in that position. So, you know, I hear from the other end saying like, oh, you're comfortable, you have finances together, you're just one of those guys that want to, live a better life or feel fulfilled when we're all struggling over here. So I want to be empathetic of that. Um, but I mean, to your point, like the idea of success didn't feel successful. It just didn't feel like I was doing what I was meant to do. And if we take this back even to the conversation that we had about school, right? It was like a lot of it was just like doing things to get by. A lot of it was just like, finding the shortcuts. How do I just get past the test? How do I just do this homework? Let me find ways to essentially cheat the system, but still get the job work done. For as long as I can remember, that's all, this life after college has, or even during college has been, is just trying to, figure out how to do the job. Um, and even though I've been outpacing other coworkers, um, because I still had that level of, worth ethic and discipline, it doesn't mean I was feeling great about what I was doing. And food has always been this very like intimate, romantic thing that I have had in my head, even though there's not really, I mean, people make a lot of money off of food, but it would, I never really saw it as that. And I think a lot of the reasons I didn't lean towards that way because I thought there was no money in it. Um, and the fact that I'm doing it now, I think that speaks to the fact that I think there's something really there. Speaks to the fact that like I'm doing this not necessarily just for the money, even though I do have aspirations to make money with it. But um, yeah, it's just always been this like very romantic thing that I've never really fully pursued, never really fully put the time and attention into. And it just became a point of, if I don't do this, I saw myself 20, 30 years down the later, whether the finances are more, if I'm still feeling the same way that I feel right now, 20, 30 years later, I know I'm going to regret it. That's what some of those Tony Robbins events made me realize or feel. Um, so it was kind of like, you know, the the lever that
Yeah.
tipped me over. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's literally what we were talking about earlier, right? Like actually playing out the scenario of what
Mm-hmm.
happens if you stay the same or what happens if you change.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because in the moment, whatever you're going through, it feels like the most intense, important thing of your life. But how many times have you had a moment like that in the last 30 years and you look back at it now and you're like, ah, it was kind of whatever, right? It's not that big of a deal. In the moment, it feels like so intense. It feels
Mm-hmm.
like this weighted blanket is on top of you and you can't get out of it. The pressure is insane. It's overwhelming. And then a couple years later, it's not that big of a deal, right? And so it's like the thing that you're stopping yourself from doing, probably like the thing that you feel about it probably won't even matter in like 5, 10 years.
But it's tough to be that introspective. It's tough to sit there and actually realize it.
Yeah.
Usually because you're getting wrapped up in all the in the moment stuff.
Yeah.
What's your answer to feeling or understanding that piece of it?
I think it's literally just giving yourself the proof that it's already happened,
Mm,
right? Because another part of the training that I had earlier this week is like your brain goes on evidence. That's how it confirms what your belief is, right? So
mm-hmm,
you will all if you're looking for if you're feeling something negative, you can always find proof of the negative
mm,
belief. But if you wanted to, you could find proof that there is positive, right? It's just that our brain likes to focus on the negative things, right? Like you get on social media or whatever, you can get 100 comments on something, and then if one person says something mean to you, you're like, man, fuck that one
mm,
person. But 99 people
mm,
could have been like, dude, you're sick, you're awesome, whatever. But you always remember the one. And so it's
mm.
just being able to shift your focus to the thing that is positive that actually will help you grow. And there's so many instances in your life that can prove to you that you can do the thing that you want to do. It's just that they're small and you actually have to focus
Mm,
and know to look for it. But if you're always just thinking negatively because your emotional house and your subconscious is conditioned to thinking of the negative, it's hard to break free. But if you can stack this proof of, I can do all of these things have all happened for me in the right way. Why can it not happen for this? And
do you
sometimes all you need is just the possibility that it can happen.
do you have a practice of this? Do you like write this down, or do you set a time where you make sure that you're reflecting, saying, okay, I thought I couldn't do this, but this is a proof that I've done it. Is there something that you like practically do?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I always thought journaling was pretty like lame and woo woo, but it
Mm,
actually is super helpful because there's so many times where life is just coming at you and you've got 5 million thoughts happening at once. Like how many times you've been sitting there and you're like, oh, I got to do this. And you're like, oh, wait, I got to do this. And then you're like, oh, let me check my
mm,
email. And then, oh, look at this stuff.
mm,
Right. And then you're thinking about like 20 different things, but you're actually thinking about nothing.
mm,
And the book that I'm currently reading is The One Thing. And it's just like multitasking is a lie. Right. So you actually have to
mm,
singularly focus on something that you're doing. And that's why I like journaling, because it is, if you handwrite it, you can only write so fast. So you have
mm,
to focus on that specific thought as you're putting it out. And, there's like a train of thought that's just like, okay, I want to do this, but I feel like I can't. Am I absolutely 100% sure that I cannot do it? Like it literally can never be another way. If there's a
mm,
possibility that I can, then I can focus on that. Right.
mm,
And if there is a possibility that I can, where can I find proof in my life that I have done something like this before, or I've exhibited some quality that would be beneficial to achieving this result, right? Maybe, for fitness, it could be something small like I have meal prepped before. It could be something that small. I have made a good decision while eating before. I have said no
mm,
to eating like shit or binge drinking on the weekend or whatever.
mm,
And people just don't acknowledge their efforts enough to think that this is all proof that you can do it. Because if you do it enough times, then you're successful. But you're focusing on the fact that I only did it for 2 weeks. I only did it for this long. I was only able to do this much of it. But in the end, it's like, okay, but if you could do that, you could do it a little bit more. It might be hard. It might be scary. You might feel like you're going to fail, but you can do it. It is possible. Only if you reframe that and believe that it is possible, which comes from
mm.
partially your self talk and stacking that proof. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it actually did make me go back to bodybuilding for whatever reason. but is more so the idea of, right, like just to get yourself in there and do 10 pounds, it's going to feel really heavy. The first 10 pounds you do is going to be really, really heavy. A month later, that 10 pounds is not going to feel like anything. Then you got to move to 20 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
and then so on and so forth. But that first 10 pound is going to suck.
Mm-hmm.
um, and it sucks a lot. And it's not going to be the day after where that 10 pound doesn't feel heavy. And depending on the circumstances, it could be months, it could be years, but eventually you do move on to that 20 pounds.
Yeah. This whole thing right here is exactly why fitness is everything. Not
Mm,
just because health is the most important, but it is the most direct and easy to do way to build the confidence that you can do other things, right? Because you
mm,
could do something as simple as say like I pushed for 2 more reps that I thought I couldn't do in the gym. That is evidence to me that I can do more than I think I can do. And
mm,
if I can do more than I think I can do in that aspect, why wouldn't that be possible somewhere else? And when you're in the gym, more often than not, like my whole mindset when I was competing was just like, I might be able to get this next rep, I might not. I'll just try.
mm,
And
mm,
there's a lot of times, more often than not, that I would be able to get more than I thought I could get.
mm,
And you realize because that happens so many times, like it's just proof to you, like my mind is the thing that's holding me back. It's not really
Mm,
that I can't do these things. It's just
mm,
that it hurts. I feel bad. And, whatever other negative thoughts that are holding you back is trying to like save you. But when you push for more, a lot of times you find out that you're a lot better at things than you think you are.
is there something you tell yourself in that so trying to get super practical, like,
Yeah.
and I've worked out with you, which is not great. Um, but right, like that additional set, that one more rep when you
Hmm.
don't even think the muscle, you feel like the muscle is going to break. Is there something that you tell yourself or something you think about that just gets you to that one more?
Yeah. I mean, it's just chunking things down into smaller increments, right? Like if I'm
Mm,
like, hey, bro, I'm going to push you, and 10 of those reps, you're going to feel fucking horrible,
mm,
and you might not be able to get it all. You're going to be like, I don't know if I really want to do 20 reps on a set with,
mm,
4 plates on the hack squat, right? um, but it's just like, okay, I'm going to go for one. And then I'm like, all right, one more and one more. Why not one more?
mm,
Like, what is the actual thing that I'm scared about? And it's also
mm,
something that helped me get over failing to an extent. Like, I'm not going to say like I'm not scared to fail, but it makes it easier because it's like, what actually happens if you fail?
mm,
If you do it safely, right? Like, you're not being reckless and saying like, if I fail, I will have literally nothing and I'll be homeless.
mm,
Like, that's a different type of thing. But if it's just, oh, I won't actually get it even when I thought I would, it's like, okay, get it next time. It's not that bad. If you do fail, it's like, okay, it's not that embarrassing. Everybody fails.
mm,
And it's just
mm.
that people feel this need to be perfect and to never show weakness. But in reality, I think I'm learning recently that like when you show vulnerability, that's actually true strength. And people appreciate that more than you trying to be perfect because you're unrelatable if you're perfect. And so if your goal is also to help people, if all you show is perfection, nobody can relate to you and nobody can look up to you in that sense. Nobody wants to take advice from you because they're like, he wouldn't understand what I'm going through.
Yeah, I used to think I was humble. I'm coming to realize very quickly I don't really know what that means. Not yet anyway. Like
I think that's an interesting word. Have you ever Googled the
humility?
definition?
No.
Yeah, humble. It's a low view of oneself.
Interesting.
Yeah, and when you really think about it, that is what people want you to be, which is also why like don't get me wrong, I don't want people to just go around being assholes and full of themselves and stuff like that.
Mm,
But I think
mm,
when people tell somebody else like you should be humble, like in my head, I'm like, if that dude worked for it, let him enjoy being excited
mm,
about succeeding, right? I To me, when most people say you should be humble, they're trying to dim your light and basically rain on your parade and your success. They don't want you to feel the success that you're currently having. And this is, obviously, this is not like when you're just like, oh God, like I'm just the shit for no reason, right? But when you're actually
mm,
trying to go and achieve something, when people are, sometimes you're like, oh, I can't be like super excited because I feel like I'm going to rub it in somebody's face,
mm,
you know, even if you're not, even if that's not your intention. And so to me, when I see people kind of like having fun, I don't want to say flaunting, but like
mm,
I'm thinking about like football players right now, but
mm,
like,
mm,
when they're just like enjoying things and they're talking shit like any guy would,
mm.
people are like, oh, you need to be humble. That guy's not humble. That guy's full of himself. It's like, or maybe he worked really fucking hard to do something that few people in the world can do, and he's enjoying the fruit of his labor. Why shouldn't he enjoy the fact that he worked so hard and he achieved the something that everybody dreams of? Why do you want
That
somebody else to have a low view of themselves?
that's an interesting take. I don't I don't define humility that way. Maybe that's the definition. And the definition when you said it and I said, "Oh, interesting." that's not how I frame humility in my mind. I agree with you. You know, if somebody worked hard for something, they should be proud. I don't think humility and being proud are necessarily negatives. I think prideful, maybe, in the sense of, you know, because I work hard, I'm better than you. I
Yeah,
think
that's
that's,
that's different.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's being
I
humble.
yeah, 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 yeah. I, I don't think pride and being proud are the same thing.
Yeah,
And when I think about humility, I think about it in the sense of maybe the same way. Even though I've achieved so much, I'm not better than anybody. I'm not better than you. I'm not of higher standing. And I
that too,
know,
for sure.
yeah, and I know, like really, really, really deep, and I say this from personal experience, really, really deep in my own psyche is a lot of that pride just comes from ego, and that part of the ego just probably comes from insecurity.
That's also facts,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So you know, when I said this idea of, I used to think I was humble, and realizing I don't really think I fully understand that word, is because it's still wrapped up in this insecurity that I kind of need to be either prideful or compare to protect my own ego, which is not humble.
Yeah. I mean, I think
Yeah,
that's a hard lesson for everybody to learn,
yeah,
you know, like especially Asians, you know.
yeah.
You just grow up and you have just like so much pride. Like you don't want to be wrong. You don't want people to tell you you're not good enough, essentially, is what it feels like, right?
Asian culture, I think, also is very, it's more it's it's a more prideful culture. Like
Yeah.
Asian culture, you kind of pushed to be propped up. You are pushed to do certain things to earn praise. You are pushed
Yeah.
to be certain things. You know, I mean, that's why it's always doctors, lawyers, engineers, whatever, because they used to, maybe not anymore. They used to be this career of higher status that allows either the individual, definitely the parents, to be proud just because of the status. So everything is about showing, you know, achievements in order to be prideful. And
Yeah.
it's a very interesting dynamic, when you have, you know, kind of the first generation Asians, where we're in a place. I, I mean, I don't know if it's right or wrong. I feel I like being in America, but but you're in a place where that's not necessarily the dichotomy, but the family dichotomy is in battle with that. And you know, I'm sure I'm sure a lot of Asian folks feel that way too.
Yeah. I mean, just being a first generation Asian American is tough
Mm,
because your parents have Asian cultural values. Like, there's one thing about Asians, they love to just show off and
right,
like have their nose in the air. Wear Louis bags just so everyone could be like, "Oh, you got a Louis bag," you
right,
know, stuff like that. I don't like that stuff. I'm not
right.
into that. And you know, the you grow up in the States and you have, well, you grow up with different values, or
Mm-hmm.
you are around different values. And I
Mm,
think that's another thing, is just that it's tough you're when you, as a kid, you feel like your parents are supposed to know it all and they're supposed to be these great people, and you know they might not always be, you know. And it's it's tough for you to see it from an outside perspective and just say like, my parents are just people that are trying to figure it out too. They might not do it in the best way that I, or the way that I like, but give them a little slack, you know. Doesn't always work, but
so in this, I wanted to ask you this before, but you just brought it up again. So in this same vein, when you were saying, trying to figure out who you are now that you're a parent, what have you come up with?
I try to live by a few core values,
Mm,
and spells out lion, plot twist,
mm,
but
mm-hmm,
it's lead, inspire slash integrity, overcome, and nurture.
mm,
Right. And it's just the aspects of life that I want to embody because I feel like it will get me where I want to go. And
mm,
that's being a great father, being a great role model and example for Kai and any other kids that I end up having, and also
mm,
being able to help the most people with the gift that I was given, right? And it's just being like the leader part is has been a big topic lately. It's something that I'm still working on, but being able to lead, I got this from Cal Rugby. This is what we used to say, and being a leader is having the ability to make the people around you better and more successful.
mm,
And what I've been thinking about recently, I just wrote it down earlier, is that most men are not leaders. They're trying to be bosses
mm,
because they're just yelling at other people, trying to shout out what you should do, what you should do. But leaders lead from the front. They lead by example. They show you the way and they help
mm,
you get there. The boss is in the back yelling at you to, like a slave labor or something like that. Nobody likes the boss. Nobody
mm,
likes a boss. Everybody loves a leader, someone that
mm,
actually makes you better. And being able to lead by example is saying, like, you can do this because I can. If
mm,
I can do it, you can be better than me. And let me show you the things that helped me get to where I am so that you can move past me.
mm,
Like, how can you lead someone to a place that you've never been?
mm,
Like, I thought about this since I was 18 because I have so many nieces and nephews. But I've always thought one day I'll have a conversation with my kid and I'll say, you could do anything you want in the world as long as you're willing to work hard enough for it. And I never wanted to have that conversation and have my kid be like, but what did you do?
mm,
Why should I listen to you? You never bet on yourself. You never took the risk to do what you wanted and what you loved. Why would I feel like I can do it because you didn't do it just because you said, like, how much weight does your word hold? You have no experience doing it. Like, even if you truly do believe in your kid more than you believe in yourself, why would they believe in themselves when you couldn't believe in yourself?
mm,
You you as the leader are showing people the path of what's possible because you did the scary thing first. You were the one in your family that took the risk and showed everyone, if I can do it, you can do it too. And inspire is kind of very similar. And it's also just integrity, right? Like having a standard for your life that you're not willing to let drop.
mm,
And I was thinking about this earlier this week, like somebody cut me off on the freeway and I was like, man,
mm,
fuck that guy. you
mm,
know like, when there's like a long line in the freeway or when you're driving and
mm,
somebody just like tries to sneak in right at the end and cut you off, and that they're just like, fuck everybody else you know and to me, I'm just like, you have such a low standard for yourself. You think that like, your problem and your time is worth more than everybody else, so you're willing to step on everybody else to get to where you want. And it's such a small instance, but
mm,
in my opinion, how you do anything is how you do everything.
mm,
And so if you're willing to step on somebody there, you've already broken the barrier. You're willing to do that in some areas. And it's just how high is your threshold of willing to say your time is more important, or your needs or your anything is more important than everybody else.
mm,
Like, I actually wait in a fucking line. As soon as I know there's a line, I'm there. I'll wait in the line. I don't care. But that's just because me, like, I feel like how you do anything is how you do everything. And I'm
mm,
not willing to do stuff like that. Obviously, I make mistakes. Sometimes I have to do it because I realize I missed the turn. But
mm,
I don't do it on purpose.
mm,
The the overcome is basically like having the resilience to do things even when they're hard and to move past it. And because I believe that is a core value of mine, I have to live up to that, because I can't say it's a core value of mine and then not live up to it and not actually do it when it comes time to doing it. And it's like never giving up. If I don't want, and it comes back to leadership, like if I don't want somebody else to give up on their dreams, I have to show them what happens if you don't give up on yours, and even in the hard times. And then nurture is like not just doing this for yourself,
Mm,
not just doing this because you want to be the coolest person in the world and you want to have the greatest life, but because you can nurture your body, but nurture other people to give them the best life, to be able to pass it on to others, to think beyond, like how great of an impact can you have.
mm,
Like for me, I work with Asian dads now,
mm,
and it's just like I can sure impact just anybody, right? I can help lots of people get in shape, but
mm,
if I can help the dad get healthy, get in better shape, feel good, have the energy to play with his kid, I've now changed his life, the wife's life, and the kid's life, because now he has more energy to be a present father. He's not worried about his health. Maybe he lives longer
mm,
to be able to see his grandkids. And now the kid had a present father who was there to do all the things that we all wish our dads, and everything
mm.
we're here to do with us, to play with us and to be present and to lead. And so like that's a huge impact. Have you ever thought about your core values?
Um, have I thought of my core values?
Like, have you ever attempted to make a list?
No, I haven't, to be honest. Maybe it's time that I do need to. Um, I think about what I gravitate towards. I think about what makes me feel the most free. And I feel like this is universal, but when I'm in a place where I don't need anything from anybody, I'm just there to serve in some way. If I'm there to help in some way, I feel the most free. Like I'm not second guessing my decisions. I'm not thinking about, am I doing this right or not? I'm not thinking about necessarily, oh, what's the best way, or I need to reach some certain thing. But like something as simple as volunteering at like a soup kitchen. I feel so relaxed in that setting. I could just, if some people are coming up, I could just have a brief conversation, just talk to them for a second. Um, I, I think there's something to that, not just for me, but to answer your question, to get it down to like an acronym, I've not gone
It
through.
doesn't have to be an acronym. It was just
Yeah,
for
yeah,
me
yeah, I
because like
know,
I
I
did it
know.
for my business and everything.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I haven't gone through that length. I think in the same vein, I've had thoughts about, as I pursue this thing around food, um, like what is a group of people I want to go serve. And I think there's many, which I have to fine grain, but for some reason, kids, maybe like in middle school or high school, I feel like that is a group that I would eventually like to work with. And I think a lot of that comes from, kind of my own experiences around that time, middle school and high school. It's just a time where you are developed enough to try to reason what is right and wrong. At the same time, there's so much influence that you don't know what is right and wrong. And it's so easy to lose confidence. It's so easy to be swayed into other directions. It's so easy to feel lost in direction that you're trying to take. If there are, you know, kids that potentially can influence and help in that time of their lives, maybe that is the seed or the foundation of some level of confidence or discipline that will carry them on as they venture into new things. So that's as far as I've got in terms of core values so far.
Mm. Become the person you needed and then give him to the world.
Yeah,
Yeah, I get that.
I, I think about that a lot when I think about me still trying to decide if I want to have kids or not.
It's great.
And
It's great.
yeah, I'm sure it is, and it looks very great. I, I do want to ask you, and I know this may be like a deep question, but I'll ask anyway, and you can answer however you like. So, when you were saying some of the things, a lot of the examples that you gave with Kai is, you don't want him to ask you and you be doubted in what, or he doubt you in what you're saying because you haven't done those things.
Mm.
And then you brought up the idea of like nurturing and leadership and you being able to be present. Do you think a lot of that is stemmed from your past with your own dad?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely became less receptive to people
Mm,
when, at some point in my life, I became less receptive to people when I didn't feel like they knew what they were talking about. They were just
mm,
saying what they thought was right, not what they knew was right because they've done it. And I think that I have always looked for that sort of guidance in life. And sometimes I
mm,
found it and sometimes I didn't. And in the areas that I found it, I became really great at.
mm,
And I feel like that's all that I ever needed, was just to be guided or to be led or to have someone speak confidence and life into me. And I I've seen the impact in my own life in some of the areas where I've gotten that, and then some of the areas where I maybe didn't, and I was so insecure and I would second guess myself all the time. Even if
mm,
I was capable of doing it, I was so in my head that I became bad at it.
mm.
And it was like crippling
Yeah.
that I couldn't make any other decision, and I would just do the thing that I thought would bring the least amount of risk.
Mm,
And so I don't want Kai to feel those things. I want him to feel like he can do anything, and I
mm,
want him to, when he does get advice from me or when I do try and speak that confidence into him, I want to be like, yeah, he's right. Like, I should listen to him. I want to be somebody worth listening to for him, because I know that lots of guys do not want to listen to their dads about a lot of things, right? But I think it's also just because a lot of dads don't do the things that they're telling their kids to do.
that one that one hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Be feel like you're worth listening to. Not in the sense of like, oh, like just for the sense of validation and worthy, but it's just like be confident in the sense of I have done this and be confident in sharing that advice to somebody else. That
Yeah.
one,
I mean,
yeah.
it's that. And also just, we were talking about environment and the people you surround yourself with earlier.
Mm,
Your kid is going to be probably a lot, along with your partner, if you got one, like, you're going to be around them the most. They're going to see
mm,
everything that you do. You can't hide from that.
mm,
And so even if you think you're hiding, you're not hiding the fact,
yeah.
like when you're fat, out of shape, you're lazy, you're sluggish all the time, you don't like
Mm,
the way that you look, you think you hide that shit from your kids. You don't hide that shit. Like, they see when
mm,
you look tired all the time. They see when you have no energy, when you come home and they ask you to play and you're like, maybe later.
Mm-hmm.
Or when you're like, oh God, I look so fat. Like you probably think that your
Mm-hmm.
kids don't notice that. They notice that.
Mm-hmm.
And you breed these insecurities or this lifestyle into them because they're watching you do it all the time. And so that's their example. And it's like, you know, to me, it's like, you want your kid to be healthy, you want your kid to be successful. Like you have to be those things so that they can have that belief in themselves that they can do it. Or else they're going to be like, well, how am I supposed to figure that out? How am I supposed to learn how
Mm-hmm.
to be healthy if you're not healthy? So
Mm-hmm.
you're telling me you want your kid to be healthy, but you're not willing to bite the bullet and
Mm-hmm.
sacrifice food or whatever, go to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
So you want your kid to have to figure it out by themselves. You're going to put that burden on them. They're going to have to be the ones that change the family history of health. Or you're going to be the one that doesn't chase your dreams and you're going to be like, "Oh, you do it though." Right? Like that's not, I wouldn't listen to that, so I wouldn't expect my kid to listen to that. And I mean, it just goes back to kind of what you're saying, or what I said earlier. Like, be the person that you feel like you needed when you were growing up,
Mm-hmm.
and then give them to the world.
Yeah.
You know. But I do have a question for you though.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like you've had some examples of letting go and letting go of control. What has letting go taught you about peace?
Whew. So anybody who's had enough deep conversations with me, it knows that I struggle with indecision, this constant battle of is this the right choice or is this the right choice? And I think a lot of that stems, you know, from a lot of what we talked about is just the fear of failure, that I need to be in control of every step. Then I'll know what decision to make, which is which I know is never the answer. And I would literally get into these cycles, and I kid you not, where I would become so frustrated between this decision or that decision, and I've gone through this cycle for so long. I stupid example, but I'm gonna give it to you anyway. Sometimes, when I'm flipping through Netflix, I will flip so long. In the past, I probably flipped for like 45 minutes to an hour, just trying to figure out what the right thing is.
Hmm.
And the entire time, every minute that takes, I would get more and more frustrated because I would just think I'm just so stupid and silly that I just can't pick one. At the same time, I'm peeling out the layers. At the same time, I would literally be flipping through Netflix, watching the previews, be like, "Oh, this looks okay, but if I don't like this, I will have wasted time." Me saying this at minute 45 that I'm still flipping. Like, oh, if I don't like this, I'll be wasting time. So I'll flip to another one and think, oh, this is okay. Okay, maybe we'll come back to this. Another 15 minutes go by. Oh, this one looks okay. Is it better than the first one though? Oh, I'm not sure. Let me flip through a couple more. And after an hour, I will literally turn it off and just go on my phone and go do something else. Like, so that level of indecisiveness would drive me absolutely insane. And if that is an example for picking a movie on Netflix, imagine what it is when there are harder decisions to make. So this idea of letting go, and this idea of kind of letting some higher being, see a path or guide me in a way that I'm just not seeing, it does provide some level of peace that me as Felix, I am choosing the wrong things, and I've made the same mistakes over and over, that if I don't have to totally rely on just myself, where I can let go of what is right and find a different perspective or a different power, if you will, guide me in a new way that I can't necessarily come to on my own, there is a sense of surrender or peace that comes with that. Like the story or the idea that, I told about quitting my job. Like it became this thing that, like, for whatever reason, it just kept pulling at me. And like, I was like, okay, clearly something is telling me that I need to quit. So I just did it. And yes, I wrestled with it, but not in the sense of like, oh, is this the right decision? Oh, what do I think is going to happen? Oh, do I think I'm going to want to go back? I wrestled with it. It's like, I was like, is this really the right decision? Something was telling me it was, and I just let that decision go. And it becomes easier to know that you're not going to know. And if you just let go and really internalize that, and kind of on the back of that, if there is a belief that whatever path that you take, whether it's going to hurt a little or it's going to hurt a lot, the result is still going to be growth. The result is still going to be prosperous. It may not seem like it if it hurts more when it actually does happen. The faith in the fact that whatever direction I go, if I choose to look at what the opportunity is to learn, then the end result will still be good. And that, for me, that idea of letting go is a lot more peaceful to deal with than the alternative.
Are you just telling me that, or do you really feel that?
No, I do. Yeah. And I'm still, new in exploring this idea. But even years ago, you'll see a lot of where my influence comes from. But like years ago, maybe 10 years ago, when I first discovered Tony Robbins, he had this idea, his famous saying, like, life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you.
Mm.
And I didn't really know that he was Christian at the time, which I don't think necessarily is totally the point. But his teaching was just in the fact that, if whatever the situation is the fact, is the event. What you choose to take from the situation is a choice. You can either take something that horrible has happened to you and see it as you are the victim, to your point earlier, you are the victim, everything's always bad happening to me. Or you can see this as, okay, if I can get through this, I know I will be better because of it. And it's a hard thing to stay on top of. It's a hard thing to consistently say that, you're always choosing the choice of seeing the good and the bad. But the alternative is, whenever there's bad, you're only seeing the bad, and that can only lead to worse. So, if I can choose to believe that life happens for me and not just to me, then at the end of the day, there will be good that comes out of it.
Nothing lasts forever.
Yeah.
I like it, man. That's good shit. Well, I
That's a
appreciate
tough
you.
one though. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man. That
Yes,
was
sir.
good. That was good.
I
Um,
appreciate you bringing me on.
yeah, man. We'll have you on again since I'm just gonna be doing random talks like this. But
Cool.
if you guys liked the episode and the comeback, I think you're supposed to like it or leave a comment. That'd be cool, I guess. But if not, you can follow Felix on Instagram and watch his recipes. What's your Instagram?
Life Recipes by Felix.
Yeah, that I'll leave it in the description. And yeah, leave a 5-star review. That'd be cool. If not, don't leave one at all. I'll see you guys next time.